band in Trinidad.
Yo!
Yo, check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4.
God damn it!
Hey, bad boy.
You know we crazy.
This is Burdie.
This is Barney with Indigestion.
And this is definitely not the morning edition. I have to stress that this time. This is the Burdie and Barney show. But we have as our guest today, Fazeer Mohammed. Fazeer, take a bow, introduce yourself.
Good to be on the show. I suppose people were saying, what he know about football? And they're right. As a but I mean, I live in long enough. I'm 56 years old. And probably for about 55 of those years, following what's going on in Trinidad and Tobago, football and otherwise. So, I mean, thanks for having me on the show. But in a way, I wish you didn't have to talk to me because you make me bring up things that I didn't want to bring up. But anyway, I can't say no to our partner. So, fix up.
Well, first of all, two people here didn't take a line, but go ahead, buddy.
It's 2. After the show, then I shall go be 3. I shall go be 3. Fazeer, nice having you on. It's good to have you on a good show for once. I mean, we see you suffer on the morning shows. It's good to have you on a top line production.
So you're trying to say that morning edition is a waste of time, but let's stop this thing right now.
Man, it's trying to make everybody jobless.
I sound like Lasana. They are attacking everybody. Sorry. I got carried away.
I'm waiting for your name to get mentioned in a media conference.
Who name? Me?
Yours? Yes.
Nah, man. Yours is only go for the big ones.
Eventually, Barney wants to come back in the country for years, so there's people waiting for him.
Well, I mean, I figure he should probably hand over to come back if he really wants to further his career in football.
I figure if you want to live, you don't want my wife to hear what you just say. That is what's going on.
So Fazeer, in truth, you ever kick a line? What were your sporting days? I know you played cricket in that great institution on Frederick Street.
Absolutely. Let me cut a long story short. I was never in football. The best I got was playing in the class. And in Form 6 days, when I was busy failing everything else, I was in the class and we were playing, we are in upper 6, and we were playing this game against one of the big, you always have these fellas who consider themselves big players and so on. So we were playing one, I think it was one of the Form 6, but we were playing him anyway. And I used to play left wing back simply because they felt that I could do the least damage. So we lo and behold, we lead them 1-0, right? And then remember, this is football we're talking about. We were not in the field where the one closer, they feel closer by the pool. We lead in, and all they're telling me to do is once the ball come to me, just kick it away. Just and we can hold on to that one. But you see, in my mind, I had just watched the 1982 World Cup final, and right, and a dotishness take me that I feel is Gaetano Shirea, the last stop of
for Italy. Yeah.
Exactly. Elegantly coming out of the heart of defense. So the ball come to me, and I feel I could just elegantly waltz through and a beautiful pass and thing. The striker just take the ball from me and boom, 1-1, right? Next thing with about a couple minutes to go, they say, look, just when the ball come to you, just clear it away. That's all we have. You are not Shirea, you're not anybody. Just clear it away.
You're launching the counter attack. Okay.
Exactly. So the ball, remember, I still won all that, which would be a real triumph for our Form 6 class because we supposed to have worms and whatever. So the ball is coming to me, and I think, oh God, somebody clear the ball before it come by me now, please. Right? So the ball comes to me on the far post. I plant my right leg to kick it away with my left leg and miss. It hit my right leg and go in the goal. We lose 2. I think kicking a line would be a great achievement for me because I couldn't even kick a big football, kick it properly. I have never played a game of football since.
Don't worry, man. You did a Ruben Diaz. Did Diaz score one of those last week, Manny?
Yeah. But forget the football. You see how skillful this man is? You see how skillful this man is? This man just negates the boss calling him out on never kicking alive, you know. That man negates that whole argument.
That's commentary.
That's when it comes to when you're a journalist, you find a way to weasel yourself out of a particular.
Yeah, but apparently Library didn't learn that one.
No, cricket commentary at different level.
What's that?
Cricket commentary, you can have a big red tarpaulin over the pitch for 6 hours, and those guys in the studio still narrating it, and it's all good.
If it's one thing you learn when you're talking about cricket, is you have to learn to talk nonsense, beginning to end, you know. Because remember when you're talking about Test cricket, especially the Test matches used to go regularly 5 days, sometimes rain falls on, and you have to fill the time. It's not like television where they go to a commercial or they go back to the studio and they fill the time and so on. In those days, you have to talk non-stop. You find all kind of talk about.
Correct.
Well, you even prepare for that job, Faz. I mean, an hour passed, about 23 dot balls, men shining on the trousers, and you prepare for that.
I think what you do is that, as with any other profession, if you know your stuff, you could talk about it. I mean, it's not rocket science. The thing is that basically, I mean, fortunately for me, I grew up in an environment where it was always about sport. It was primarily about cricket. My father used to play club cricket in San Juan with San Juan United and Arangua Sports Club and so on. I used to follow the game. In fact, a lot of the books when I first started to learn reading and so on in Standard 4, Standard 5, reading more complex sentences and so on, was cricket books, was football books. One of the books I still have is 60 memorable football matches from in British football that talk about, you know, Sunderland and so on, with Porterfield, who used to coach Trinidad and Tobago, of scored shock winning goal against Leeds United in 1973. And so, you know, you learn how to describe things, you learn sport in context and so many different things. You learn to read about cricket, you learn about the history of the game. So actually, when you actually get into it, it's like just continuing the same old talk that you would be having anyway. It's just that, well, you're using as much proper English as possible, and you're that is all. Because basically, you're talking about the game, you're describing the game, you're painting a picture audience as well, especially on radio, obviously, and it's merely an extension of whatever information you would have already. So I think it's basically knowing as with anything else, knowing what you're talking about. You may not be correct with everything, but it's useful to have an opinion that you could develop a discussion about anything.
So Fazeer, that book that you touched on there, that 16 memorable games, that's the book that led to your unhealthy love affair with Liverpool. Just want to get it for that.
Well, that has two sides to that story. Well, it had the 60 memorable matches had nothing to do with it. It was 1976. That is what? Let me see. Yeah, I was 11 years old. No, 1977. Sorry, 1977. And so those days, you used to get BBC World Service on your radio, on Radio Trinidad, whenever it had like an FA Cup final and so on. So I'm not really too familiar with what's going on. I saw what Star Soccer on TV, and in those days, League Soccer, as it became known, on the weekends. And so you're seeing games about 4 or 5 weeks late, and you're excited about it and so on. So looking forward to the FA Cup final 1977, Liverpool against Manchester United. And my father is a big Manchester United fan. You're always talking about it. Wasn't for the Munich plane crash and this.
He knew his oath.
Yeah, always about this plane crash thing. But if it wasn't for that and all that sort of thing, so I listened to the game, and I saying, Papi, what going on there? What game going on? He said, shut up, I'm listening to the game. Wash your mouth, I'm listening. I said, so who playing? Manchester United playing Liverpool. Who you like? Manchester United. Okay, I like Liverpool. And since then, I was and Liverpool lost 2-1 in that final, but they had already won the league title. And the following Wednesday, they were playing Borussia Mönchengladbach in the European Cup final. And it wasn't Champions League, it was straight knockout from round one and was straight knockout. So again, BBC have it, and I am listening there on a Wednesday afternoon to Liverpool beat Borussia Mönchengladbach by 3-1. And since then, I was following Liverpool up until last year. So from last year, because of this whole Black Lives Matter thing, and listening to Michael Holding talk about his own experiences in England and other places, I have decided I'm not supporting anybody anymore, which is a difficult thing to say if you're doing it since 1977. But to be quite honest with you, from last year, I think the last game I watched live was the Liverpool-Everton Merseyside derby. That's when the keeper went into Van Dijk and break him up. Right. I don't watch it anymore because I think, you see, fellas, there are bigger things in life. And I am 56. I have children, I have grandchildren now. And I want to be an example to them for a better world and a better, it might sound ridiculous and ideal, and so, but I have to die and leave at some time. And I don't want to leave this world not leaving a message with my grandchildren, especially because I mentioned that 3-1 Borussia Mönchengladbach. One of the goal scorers for Liverpool is a fellow called Tommy Smith. No, he's one of the fans of Liverpool, one of the what they call the hard men of the game. He died a few years ago, and they described him as a complicated individual. When you see complicated individual, understand that to mean right? Yeah. Because they find it hard to describe somebody as a racist. Tommy Smith, like so many in Liverpool at the time, was an out-and-out Francoman racist. Didn't like black people and told them that. Howard Gale, the first black man to play for Liverpool in 1981, and he was part of the squad for the European Cup final when they beat Real Madrid. He was from Liverpool, but Tommy Smith told him to his face, but he don't really like black people. And you see, the thing is, fellas, that when you kind of know these things, and then you let them slide by because you more enjoy watch Liverpool winning, you want them to win a title and so on. And then because of colonial upbringing, we brought up to believe is Chelsea, Liverpool, Spurs, Man United, everyone else ignoring our own. But then at some point you say, is this right? Is this right for us to be so slavishly following this thing? And then last year as well, not last year, but the year before last year, I was listening to a little documentary on the impact of Mohammed Salah on Liverpool and attitudes towards Muslims and so on. And they were saying that, Islamophobia declined in Liverpool this season after Mohammed Salah played. And everybody said, hey, that's a good thing, boy. But I tell myself, so it takes a Muslim doing something exceptional for you to stop hating Muslims then. So in other words, the ordinary black and brown person in Liverpool or the UK, the ordinary black and brown going about a normal, ordinary business, going to work on time, doing their best for themselves and their family, they are deserving of abuse, but you have to do something exceptional. And that, gentleman, comes down to this concept of exceptionalism, that if you're a minority, you have to do something exceptional, because otherwise, be prepared to tolerate abuse. Remember that situation in Paris where the fella from Mali scaled the front of an apartment building to rescue a child?
Spider-Man. Yeah.
Right. Remember, to rescue a child, and he was given citizenship in next to no time? So what about all the Malians and Africans, Asians, and so on, who were in the line for months and years, just law-abiding immigrants and so on, waiting for their right to citizenship and being discriminated against? We fall for that thing too easily. Is when brown and black people do things in white man country and so on, as if we are required to do something exceptional. You see, maybe in Trinidad and Tobago, when a Muslim does something terrible or whatever. Okay, Mr. Mohammed, so what do you have to say about that? Who tell you I just speak for all Muslims? Anybody who is a Christian say, do you speak for all Christians when they commit a crime? Is that concept of exceptionalism, that in other words, if you're a minority, you have to do something out of this world Otherwise, be prepared to be sidelined. It's a long, complex story. So, yeah, I supported Liverpool since 1977, but I'm trying my best right now to disentangle myself from them.
But saying that, you like football, right? So
I love football. My first.
don't you feel passionate about watching any sort of football match or so now then? Because part of the joy in backing a team is just feeling, especially when you don't have a team, like I say, in Trinidad, playing at that level, and to have any kind of emotional involvement with, if it is the NBA or whatever it might be, it could be playing marbles. Yeah, you kind of pick somebody.
You're right. I like sport. So I don't really have a team per se. For example, in cricket, people say, oh, you could watch a game, or it's either dead boring or the West Indies losing, and you're so excited. Like if you're glad the West Indies losing, like when Shav Maraj Dispenna got the hat trick on the last day of the second Test match. I was doing commentary at the time, and somebody told me, "Don't like you was more excited than he was to get the hat trick." Well, all of the Indians just stick together or something because they don't South Africa or something. I say, well, and I just let that slide. You gotta ignore this kind of stupidness. But I love sport. I love the game. I love to see a nice, attractive football game. And as I say, okay, maybe I do a lot more cricket commentary. My first love is football commentary. One of my great sources of pride is doing commentary in a game in the 2001 Under-17 World Cup, which we held in Trinidad and Tobago, of course. The game in Burkina Faso and Oman. Now,
okay. As a group match.
Yeah, it was a group game. To me, very irritating to me to hear when people mispronounce people's name. And they say, yeah, whatever. Because I think your name means something. So when you hear people, I can't pronounce your name, so we'll call him Fred. So I said, but wait now. So you don't think his name means something? You don't think his name is of some relevance or something? And you get that all over, even when we're talking about cricket. When you get like Sri Lankan players, say, boy, I ain't able with them names. Nah? I say, why you not able with them names? And you're able with Bartholomew and Fitzgerald and all sorts of other names. But just because somebody name Sangakkara, what's so difficult with that? Again, I like talking about sport. I like commentating. When I'm commentating, I really don't care who win or lose. I love the flow of the game. I love that Oman Burkina Faso game. I just enjoyed describing the players' names and so on. That Ouattara to Al Hussein, who this to that, what finds space on the right hand side, crosses it in to Shaqiri and whatever. And I just enjoy the flow of it, because football, because it's a much faster pace, it's non-stop. It tests your skill to be able to describe the action, to get the names correct, to get involved in the flow of the game. Cricket is a different challenge because there's so much gaps in between, so much for the bulk of the time, nothing going on. Exactly. So but there's so much to it with. As far as the shot that the fella played, the state of the game, and so much else. So to me, I enjoy, like for example, the Euros that are going on right now. Me really care who win, lose or draw, but I like to see good football. I like to see the game being played as I think it should be played. So the passion that you're talking about, Anna, is about the game itself. If Argentina playing, then there's a different story, because it doesn't have to do with Messi or Maradona. It has to do with Mario Kempes. Because the first World Cup that I really take on was
the stripes too. And the stripes too, Faz.
Sorry?
You have the stripes too.
Well, you're right. You have the right stripe, the blue and white. You can't go bad with that. But
here it is. I could leave here and leave only with this kumbaya session. Only I'm going on here with this stupid copybook page looking uniform. Ease up.
I'm surprised that you're still involved in the discussion.
But see, if you're talking about Kempes, just talk about the man. They're easing up with the uniform. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
I will let that pass for now. Last time I don't take it. Jealousy is a really bad thing. The 1978 World Cup, I actually saw the 1974 World Cup final because my father was a big West Germany fan. West Germany there. And
Okay.
he had all his money on West Germany because everybody was Holland. Johan Cruyff, because they were the Brazilians of Europe and so on. So he was a gambling man. And he put all his money on West Germany. He hit the sky when Gerd Muller scored that winning goal in that game. But then 4 years later, I'm 13 years old, and I finally sitting down watching a proper World Cup. I was in Argentina. Argentina won. I admired Mario Kempes because he just used to score goals, didn't get on, no big sort of histrionics, no sort of getting on and whatever. So Mario Kempes and Argentina is my team and my man as well. So that's how I get hooked that way. But you know that is the story of the football connection.
Yeah.
Boy, it's from one bad team to another with you, boy. I don't know. It had no hope for you, boy.
You show this connection to Thailand, working towards to disconnect it every time.
But Faz, the thing is in sport now, there's just so much of it. So, for instance, the Copa America, right? You have a tournament, 10 teams in the group stage, 8 teams going on to the next round, which to me is the most ridiculous format. The game's almost meaningless in the group stage. It is harder to be eliminated than to go forward, right? So I would only watch Argentina play because I want to see how they're doing and how they're gelling and how Messi looking and so on. But I'm not watching any other group games until I get to the knockout stage where the games mean something, you know. But to me, that's sometimes when you have that emotional connection, you see. Otherwise, I wouldn't watch any of those group games, kind of thing. You know, I suppose with Euro. Similarly with Euro, I'm not going to watch England play Croatia, Czech Republic, because I'm expecting a flat game. I'll only look, unless I have a connection with a team, I'll only look if I think something interesting could happen here. There's some kind of drama or something, you know?
But you see, that's why I'm different from you all. Because only watching the game. I'm not able with this morning here. I'm not feeling for this. I don't have to deal with this fool all the time for you coming to jump on this tag team, the Carlitos Colon and Victor Dubica or something. Yeah, I am. You all watching the game. Listen to you all. You all watching the game purely on a spectator level, right? Which surprising coming from the two of you all, seeing that you all are journalists and everything too. I thought you all would have seen the game on another level as well. And there's the thing, you talking about England versus Czech Republic is a boring game. It have no such thing for me in football. There is always something to see and something to learn and something to critique and something to look at and say, you know, I wonder why they do this. That's how I look at the game. So, for example, you watching Argentina, you know Brazil is my team. I will watch Argentina still because I want to see what goes on in a football game, what the coach was doing, what Messi does, what X, Y, and Z. So, to me, where you tell me about
expect anybody to watch Argentina play, but go ahead.
Oh gosh, let me stay serious now. When you say there's a boring game, that do exist for me. Same thing for Fazeer with cricket. I do not watch any T20 cricket at all. I don't enjoy it. To me, it is an insult when a leg spinner bowls a googly, completely bamboozles a batsman who trying to drive, and he got inside edge, and it going on to fine leg for 4, and everybody cheering for that and marking it down as 4 runs and great shot and stays up with the run rate. When is the bowler who triumphed there as far as I'm concerned? So T20 don't interest me. I can sit down and watch a test match. It don't matter how long, it don't matter if it draw. To me, a test match is enthralling cricket. And that is it for me. Sport is sport. I watch sport because I love sport, every aspect of it, except hurling.
Well, you can't leave broom or what? You have little brooms and things where they're sweeping out the big stone. But
it has two sports that I'm not watching at all. It may have more, but it have 2 for sure that I'm not watching. You see hurling and you see baseball, because I find it difficult to call anything that requires your uniform to have a belt in it a sport.
Use a madman. Use a madman.
No, I You're wearing a belt. That can't be no uniform. That can't be no sport. You're
They
wearing a
got
belt.
20 bells back. They got 20 bells back in the days, Barry.
I want to
Oh,
ask
yeah.
Barney.
Oh, yeah.
I want to ask Barney about that same thing about from a coach's perspective with football. Because
Uh-huh.
I remember there was a game in the Premier League not so long ago, and everybody said, "But this game real boring, boy." It might have been Arsenal, Man U, or whatever, whichever.
It was I'm sure it was Man U versus Man City.
I don't know, maybe, but anyway, it was dead boring. And at halftime, when they went to the expert comments and so on, it might have been Gary Neville, and he said this is a fantastic tactical and so on. But my point is, Barney, that for sport is not just for those with the tactical acumen who could say,
Correct.
but you didn't appreciate how the angles and how they're working the 3-5-2 and all that kind of thing. As a unschooled fan, me, I want to hear about all of that. I want to enjoy the game. So if I watching a man blocking in a test match, I with you on the test cricket thing. I don't really care to watch T20. This is neither here nor there with me. But even me with test cricket, if I watching a man just blocking to kill time and him looking to score, it's dead boring. So to tell me what it takes about how the leg spinner trying to work at him, I get that. But for somebody walking into the ground and sitting down and falling asleep because it's so boring, I could sympathize with them. So sometimes I wonder if there's a kind of elitism. I used to go to the secondary school games and I do thing and St. Anthony's playing so on. Yes, St. Anthony's playing so on, all that kind of thing. And I describing the game and so on. And then somebody would tell me afterwards, you really don't understand football. You didn't describe how the left wing back this and how the center back that and how the whatever and thing. I said, let me tell you something. My job is to describe the action that is going on. If you want tactical awareness, go to the FIFA handbook. Come here, really. I am describing the game. Because sometimes I feel people like to show off too much that, they know so much about this, that, and the other, and this zone, and that zone, and all that kind of thing. I just like the flow of the game. End of story.
And you know the thing, Fazeer? And they are 100% with you. Two things I would say to that. One, the advent of money into games obviously brings about this problem because as a coach, I walk out there, to hell with all and all the enjoyment, my neck on the line. So I had to make sure that I negate whatever. And that's why people like Mourinho exist, right? The second thing I would say about it, 9 out of 10 of the people who telling you don't know about the game and want to tell you about the tactics, they don't know about the game. Because a lot of people, Trinidad and Tobago, if you travel the world and you talk to footballing people, and you talk to the common man in some countries, in footballing countries, you realize that we as a people are ignorant of the game. When you listen to the everyday man in Spain talk about the game, because they're exposed to the game at a higher level, and what they see now, they enjoying the game on the same level of pure enjoyment. But if you start to talk football with them, their understanding of the game is greater than ours. Our understanding of the game, and when I say our people as a nation, is what we see on TV, and then we try to compare what we see in the Premier League with what we see in SSFL. We want to see the same thing, and it's not realistic. So the person who might be telling
that's
about
context.
the back and the centre back, he telling you what he see on TV. He ain't really telling you any real factual stuff.
Yeah, that's
like
a lot of context.
Like Lasana talking about football. If you ever burdened to sit through a conversation with Lasana and football, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Only on your own with that. No, but I hear you. I mean, the bigger issue with that, Barney, is this country really interested in having a proper discussion about anything? Football, cricket, politics?
Analysis.
Or are they just willing to show off about how much they know about Mourinho and Salah and this one and that one and so on? Are they really willing to have a discussion about anything at any really serious level?
As I always say, I have a group of partners that I discuss stuff with, a tight-knit group. They're not fortunate enough, most of them, to go to a good school like Fatima. They went QRC. You know, what you gonna do? QRC, St. Mary's is the same bottom of the barrel feeders. But anyhow,
that's tier 1 and tier 2. What's okay?
That's tier 1 and tier 2. Anyway, let me not say that. I'll get in trouble. So let me just leave that, right? And as I keep telling them, and this is not about football, this is about Trinidad. We do not try to fix anything in Trinidad. We just want to give an impression that we're trying to fix it. So be it football, be it government, be it cricket, swimming, wherever, we pretend, we like to pretend we're doing things. That's why you always hear people saying, give him a chance now, at least he's doing something. It don't matter that he's doing the right thing, eh? At least he's doing something. This is the level that we come to in Trinidad. So be it football, be it football, I still need to get back into the country, so be it football.
Want somebody moving around and looking busy.
Yes, want somebody
best minister ever.
Yeah, we automatically feel that that's the man, because look what he won before he was doing. That's the bar that we set, you know. A man giving you nothing before, so if a man giving you one, that's the man we want. But
why do you think the national pastime? Why do you think the national pastime is limbo? Is how low you could go. No, I mean, I have to get back in the country myself, you know, but I mean, how much longer are we going to have to put up with this? Because as I said, you feel I want when I go to my grave, when I lie down on my deathbed, and my grandsons, or if I have other grandchildren, watching me and saying, you know, you could have do a little more for a better place, because we live in a place where old talk prevails, and you people, I know that other country, I'm in St. Lucia right now for the cricket and so on, and they say, well, it's the same thing here and all that kind of thing. But it's not to the extent like Trinidad and Tobago. Trust me, there is no place on the face of the earth that is as delusional as Trinidad and Tobago, and the story of our football tells us that, because we go through the same blaming thing every 4 years or every 2 years, and you hear people who experienced it 40 years ago, 36 years ago, 32 years ago, 28 years ago. So you see, I went to St. Mary's here, unlike Fatima, where I could actually the 4. So that's very easy. That comes naturally to me, unlike Fatima.
So then what you're saying there, because look how you just throw a man under the bus.
You should not bring up match day fans. You should not bring up match.
Watch how you throw a man under the bus. What school are they taking in from?
Be a bigger man, Barney. Be a bigger man, Barney.
Yeah. Sorry, I bring that up.
But see, this man just called me to work out percentages and things for free articles, you know.
Be a bigger man, Barney. Be a bigger man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, oh gosh, man, you should know better than that, Barney. I mean, you don't pump on your colleague like that. You should let
it win, Barney.
Oh, yes, you do. Barney. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because there's a good God. There's a good God. Because he doesn't want to be dumping on me all the time. When I catch him like this, oh God.
Well, you go deal with that.
And there's another St. Mary's man doing that.
Yeah, but the bigger issue is that we keep revisiting these things as if it never happened. The specifics are just a little different, you know. The coach is who, the star striker is this one, the influencer is that one, the Hefe is that one, and so on. And nothing ever changes. Whether you talk about in cricket, the selectors is this one, the captain is that one, the board president is so and so, and so on. Nothing changes. The prime minister is so and so, the opposition leader is so and so, the commissioner of police is this one, the head of the football is that one. It's just different names in the same nonsense.
Well, that takes us right. That takes us right into the conversation there, Faz, because for this World Cup campaign, despite all the issues that came up afterwards in normalization and everything else, we thought the one thing we had was a coach, right? Because we have somebody who's supposed to have all the right boxes, and that he's a foreign coach. So we of course foreign, let's say top level, until he played top level. And he's been living in Trinidad for a long time. So we assume, okay, he understands the players and the culture and so on. He had success in Trinidad at Jablote and Central FC. So we thought that it was the one thing we got right is in the selection and the coach, right? So now at the end of the campaign, and one of our worst campaigns of all time, because we lost 4 matches. I know we got knocked out early before. I don't know if we ever got knocked out in 4 matches. I think that might be
92.
And in 92 was Jamaica. Jamaica wouldn't have been our first game though, would it?
Wasn't it?
That might have been second round. But in 1978, we went out. And remember in 1978, again, that's why when I listened to all the discussion about football.
But we had more games in 78 though. I think we had more than a round, but yeah.
In 1978, remember we had the famous 1973 Haiti and all. In Steve David, Moraldo, Leon Carpet, Teixeira, all of them.
Yeah.
Played our first game in qualification for 1978 was against Barbados in Bridgetown. We lost 2-1. Come back to that. Play all over Barbados on Independence Day 1976. Win 1-0. So we missed about 15 goals, scored 1. Had to go to a playoff, beat them 3-1 in the playoff. Went to Suriname, home and away with Suriname. Draw in Paramaribo, draw 2-all in Trinidad. Lost the playoff in Ghana.
Yeah. So that was 5 games.
That was 5 games. But is that the whole situation and the specifics might be different now. But if you talk about arguably one of the greatest Trinidad and Tobago football teams, squads, or combination of players, and again, you didn't get very far in that situation. Here we are now, where you have a coach who is happy to say that he played 4 games and didn't lose, and didn't qualify, but he sees that as a triumph, and he gets away with it because there are enough people who are either on his side or who know that if they stay quiet, they're likely to benefit at some point. This is where we are at, that people are afraid to be honest, or maybe probably more worryingly, don't have a clue what it is like to be honest, because they are accustomed with towing the line wherever that line is. And then this is where we are at in Trinidad and Tobago. And so you have a situation where people say things that are blatantly untrue, that are totally incorrect. Maybe they're falling from Donald Trump because they get away with it all the time. But the point is that people who are saying and are not being challenged. And then as
not somebody there too, boy, but go ahead.
But we are afraid to say, but excuse me, sir or ma'am, what you are saying there is not correct. It is not true. What you are saying there is totally false. I'm not slandering you. I'm not libeling you. But what you are saying there is just not correct.
I tried that fast. They tell me I'll be a person interested in a human trafficking case when I asked a question like that at time. But
I tried that too. I tried that too, and I was told that I would get blacklisted from coaching the national team.
But I mean, look, could I tell you something as well? We have that in cricket as well. You know that in like, for example, again, it's whoever governs the game calls the tune, whoever pays the piper calls the tune. But when you cricket, whenever India is involved, you don't dare say anything about the composition of their team, whether they pick the right team or whether the team is the selectors made a mistake. If you're in India doing commentary and you say anything about, the crowd looking a little scanty today, the crowd looking kind of small, or something about the tactics, they pull you off commentary that same day. and you're never
Wow.
seen again. And they could get away with it because they know everybody feeding at the trough. Everybody want to get a little play with India because India rules the game. You get a little chance in IPL. You get to do plenty cricket all over the world and all that sort of thing. That is how it is. So this is the environment that we exist in, where because I mean we all have to live, yes. People prioritize their own well-being, their own circumstances over the truth. It's as simple as that.
Okay. Well, looking at back to the 2020 campaign, right?
Sure.
Is it something that I look at first of all in terms of the selection? Now, I could talk about some of the issues. Now, of course, in the interviews I would have done, a lot of times people would speak to me from the inside, but they would have to remain anonymous because there's always a risk talking to me for starters because, you know, the head of the TTFA, no magistrate committee don't ever like to see anybody quoted in what they succeed. So, you know, you're one down there. But some of the issues, for instance, stuff like training, Barney might know, the talk came out early on that they were doing the same session repeatedly, which they try to clamp down on. Essentially, what they would do, they would warm up, play small-sided games, maybe do a few shooting drills, and go home, right? They were never working on things like pattern of play and so on, which they were accustomed to under different coaches, even under Dennis Lawrence, who was, you know, much maligned, right? The idea that only strengthened during this campaign, the criticism, was that Fenwick was never specific about anything as a coach. It was always broad strokes, right?
I mean, I know you're giving a lot of important information here, but
Yeah.
a short circuit discussion. But at the end of the day, you are given symptoms of something that we've been living with since I know myself. Because whether, as I said, whether it's Fenwick, whether it's Dennis Lawrence, whether it's anybody else, you talked about the anonymity of the players. Our situation is so bad in Trinidad and Tobago that if we continue to believe that I will stay quiet and somebody else will put the neck on a block and then things will get better, that is why we are where we are. I remember 1989, road to Italy, the whole fiasco about November 19th and the overcrowding and the overselling of tickets and so on. And I don't know if you recall it, Shaka's father, George Hislop, started the Association of Football Supporters of Trinidad and Tobago and tried to get players on board. Because remember, this is after, this is not during, this is after. Try to get the players on board to come out and speak out against what is going on in Trinidad and Tobago's football, how so much money come in and very little went out as far as the Football Association at the time. One person, Brian Williams, one person was actually willing to be identified with AFSOT. You could probably ask Shaka to confirm with the father and so on. So what I'm trying to get at, Lasana, you might say it's unfair to expect players to want to jeopardize their career for the sake of the bigger issues of the game. But this is what the administrators, the powerful people feed off. They know that you value your career and your aspirations or your opportunities as a coach so much that you go shut up, hoping and hope that something will work out. You know when things will change in Trinidad and Tobago? When players or people, when society, when cricketers or whatever say enough is enough, we're not playing. And people will say that will never happen. Well, maybe if it were, because the point is that how if you see your stepping stones to something are not right, the process is not right, and you know this is going to end in disaster, no matter what the BS specialists say, you know this is going to end up in abject failure. Same. We just had these 2 test matches against South Africa where we saw our batsmen bobbing and weaving like if they never play fast bowling in their whole life, running and ducking and all that kind of thing. And we knew this was going to happen because our players are not attuned to that kind of thing. When we're going to say, well, look, enough is enough, whether it's the normalization committee now, whether it's Jack Warner then, whether it's Gary Griffith now, whether it's Major Ralph Brown then, whoever. The point is, if we don't want to fight our own fight, who the hell we expect to fight for we?
Well, Faz, it's interesting. You pointed out the 78 campaign, but I don't know if you remember for that campaign, Gally Cummins wasn't there, wasn't invited, Warren Archibald wasn't there, and quite a few of the senior players outside were not, We have had this repeat thing in our football history, where as soon as players start to get professional and start to get successful and start making demands at the FA, they would get cut down first opportunity that they get, right? In the 74 campaign, Leroy DeLeon wasn't playing for Trinidad, and he was our best player at that point in time. Okay, Steve David and Archibald exploded during the tournament, but Leroy DeLeon would have been the premier player.
Going into the tournament.
Going into the tournament, yes.
Yeah.
Leroy DeLeon didn't play because the general secretary at the time, Jack Warner, he was promised some payment or whatever it is. He didn't get the money, and he said, I'm not playing. And we went into that tournament without him. Cummins and these guys had their own riffs with the FA in terms of the treatment, the type of hotels, the meal, and so on. They leave out most of them for 78. So Steve David came back, but other than that, it was a lot of young players, Michael Grayson and so on, and other homegrown players, right? And we saw it, of course, after the 2006 World Cup campaign would be another time. Look, even after we got to the Gold Cup in semi-finals under Berto Sinclair, and afterwards they fired the coach, they fired Naked, they dropped Gerald Nixon. And why was that again? Similarly. So we have actually had cases where players and so on stood up and they were cut down. And I suppose we could probably say now that they didn't really get any support from anywhere, or there was no significant backlash against the FA. And we keep going in the cycle,
Because, Lasana, this is not a real society. Because everybody is looking after number one. You mentioned two names there, Gally Cummins and David Naked. Wasn't Gally Cummins, and he said it in his autobiography, wasn't he at odds with Naked? So you have it both ways. You can't be prepared to look for people to back you when you standing up against injustice and paying the price. And then when somebody later down the track, when you are the head coach and they standing up against injustice and you see them as a troublemaker, it can't work. It can't work. And this is the I would have to say the disconnect in Trinidad and Tobago. But just to give you a brief analogy, as a practicing Muslim, I made the pilgrimage to the Hajj in Saudi Arabia a few years ago, and I fell sick with a virus, and I had to go to the public hospital, and the toilet facilities were atrocious, and explained to me that they just can't make the connection between clean toilet facilities and health. And I say in a hospital, they can't make that connection. Well, no, I'll be bemused. But then I remember the country I live in, Trinidad and Tobago. Can't make the connection that what all they are interested in is what works for them. If this works for me, it's right. If it don't work for me, even if it is the same principle,
it's wrong.
If it don't work for me, it's wrong. And so this is why Trinis could hide behind a corkscrew, because we're twisted, right? Because we have no sense of doing the right thing. We don't believe in it, and people could say what they want. Trinidad and Tobago as a country, we do not believe in doing the right thing for the right reason. We believe in doing the right thing for me. And that's what the right thing is. And there could be as Jack famously said, I mean, we may despise Jack, we may whatever, but he knows the Trini mindset better than anybody else and exploits it better than anybody else. Yesterday was yesterday, today is today. Yesterday this was the right thing, today now is the wrong thing. And everybody out and says, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir, because I want a feel of you. This is what this place is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, as a professional, I don't despise anybody. I just, do my job a professional, dispassionate way,
Yeah.
But Paz, looking on from the outside then at this campaign, let me put it to you. What questions you have in terms of our 2020 campaign?
Well, I mean, the 2020 campaign had obvious setbacks. I mean, with the whole COVID-19 situation and so on. But again, just looking on from a distance, that the issue with Fenwick and his qualifications, the issue with, the availability of players, whether players were really motivated to play for Trinidad and Tobago. The issues, I mean, the whole Gary Griffith, the third situation, and not there was actual interference from the Commissioner of Police, and you did your expose just the other day where you referenced the Commissioner of Police himself as the source for a lot of this information. I mean, the point is, Lasana, that we find ourselves wanting to look for specifics. They pick the wrong centre back, they pick the wrong right winger, they pick somebody to play left wing back where they never played before, and all those sorts of things. Those are just symptoms of an unwillingness to follow due process. You have a normalization committee that don't communicate with nobody, right? How is that possible? I mean, I know Nicholas Gomez. I played schools cricket with him. He wasn't bright enough to go to St. Mary's. He went Fatima. But Nick at
we
one
only taken so much. We like to take in more students, but only so much.
I mean, we have standards. We have standards. But Nick is a fella I know long time, and I'm trying to understand: is he comfortable in the environment that he is in, where maybe he's trying to do the right thing as far as, given his area of expertise, financial probity and proper accountability and so on. But if you're going to communicate with your people, your coaches, if you're not going to pay your coaches and so on, and just don't say anything, how do you expect people to have any regard or respect for you? If we have a little family business in Sao that I grew up in. How do you expect to let your staff and you know what you're about? And if you don't communicate to them, if you don't let them know how we're coping in this COVID-19 times, what the stories are, and they're waiting to find out, well, nobody tell me anything. I don't know what the boss is telling me what we're doing this morning, if we're opening, if we're not opening or whatever. Yeah. How do you really expect to function like that?
And the other thing that...
I would say this, Nicholas and they following the lead of their boss. Because from jump, that is how Haddad has operated.
Yeah, but Barney, listen to me. Listen, I don't accept that.
No, hold on. I'm not making an excuse for them, I just showing you that it's peas in our pod. You saying you know Nicholas from playing cricket with him. I was in school when Nicholas Gomez was in school. Nicholas Gomez was a hero to me because he was a very good batsman at the time. But it's disappointing for me to now see the kind of people that well, you can say that your hero turned into, because Nicholas Gomez and Romano, both I believe are Fatima boys, came onto the normalization committee led by a St. Mary's boy. And they have all consistently sung from the same hymn book, which says, we're not singing. We're not telling anybody anything. We're not being transparent about anything. And a matter of fact, Haddad has been bold-faced enough to say that he does not work for TTFA, he works for FIFA. So not understanding, there's a special mind to not even understand that without TTFA, they would not have no FIFA here. You understand?
And even with him saying that as well, the TTFA had to write saying that we essentially hand over this to this committee. It wasn't even that FIFA just put him in and he was in. TTFA members accepted him. And he's forgetting that, right, pal?
No, it's not just forget, it's a level of dysfunction. It's a level of dysfunction. I always go back to this. When you come into a scenario like Trinidad and Tobago football and your opening line is, you have to come from some other planet. when your opening line is, well, I come to save football. But brother, who is you? Where you come from? You ain't even know what you're doing, right? So that the normalization committee, they have never gone about informing, as you say. If you make the analogy between them as management and workers, there's a disconnect there. There's a serious disconnect.
Well, let me put this other side to you. Let me put this other side to you, Barney, especially. Who is going to save Trinidad and Tobago football? Because if it's football people that you're talking about to save Trinidad and Tobago football, you might as well pack it up, brother. Because the thing is that, again, crabs in a barrel. Because I recall a time, was it the early 1990s, right after we lost to Jamaica in a Caribbean Cup final in Kingston. And, you know, they got rid of Galley and so on. And people said, you know, this thing can't go on. And let's get people with business acumen and expertise. And they called us a special meeting, and they asked some business people to attend. And when the business people attended, before they even got a chance to say a word, they were shouted down. They were shouted down. Football people from different areas and zones or whatever, who tell them, "Ole, get the hell out of here because you know nothing about football, and then leave us. Let us run it." And here we are in 20.
But now we have business people running it.
No, but my point is, Lasana.
You know?
My point is, Lasana. Yeah. I'm not saying that business people are necessarily saviors. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is, if you feel that because you play the game, I play for this club and I play for this team and I know about football. I could reel off all the names for Atletico Madrid and I could tell you the first team that played for Manchester United after the plane crash, that somehow makes you this knowledgeable person on football. Yeah. That you are the one who's going to qualify to run football. This is where we are.
Well, agreed. But here my point as well, right? I think that in administration, they don't understand the importance of accountability. They think that that's a heavy thing and it's a bad, negative thing and making things difficult for them. But here's what I'm saying, right? Players have accountability, as you know, because they go out on the field and apart from your teammates, not only your teammates judging you, but you have your fans judging you, your journalists, whatever it is, right? Myself as a writer and you as a commentator and so on. If when you make mistakes, people let you know you make mistakes. People let you know what they want from you sometimes, where it could be better. So we have accountability too. You know, if I get something wrong, I could expect I might be in court trying to defend it. But when you engineer a situation now where nobody knows what you're doing, so you could essentially do anything, whatever you feel like at work tomorrow, you know, are you really creating a scenario where you could do the best that you can be? You know, would any of us have been at our best if we had zero accountability?
Not only that, add to that the fact that you come into the situation with zero humility. You've come into a situation where, I always say this, good leaders don't necessarily have to know they don't know the answers necessarily, but they surround themselves with the people who could give them the information that can lead them to the right answer. When you come into a situation, you have no knowledge, no background in any subject matter. And then
not Coca-Cola, by the way. What? Go ahead. Go ahead, buddy. Not Coca-Cola.
You hear any crowd laughing, right? Just you. Okay, right. You come into this situation and you look to take no information from the people who could help you. Who it is you're taking information from? Persons who have a track record of failing at the same thing. Does that make, what logic is that? That tells me that you didn't really come here to try and fix anything.
Well, I mean, I don't know why you're talking about the PNM and the UNC like that, but talking about football. But I mean, let me get back to the football now. But because the thing is, if I am the head of the normalization committee, I'm doing exactly what I just did. What is going on right now? Because I know that nothing will come of it. Nothing. Like you all don't understand this thing. That what you all will talk regularly and lament over, and Shaka would be on the discussion with you all and other people and so on, and how this man could do this and whatever, because
You try to limit Shaka, but go ahead.
Because he knows it will work. He knows it will work. Look at the circumstances where they end up, how they end up, right? It was obvious. I mean, anybody who want to pretend that this wasn't orchestrated by FIFA because they don't like the elected administration at the time of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, they live in Wonderland, which is Trinidad and Tobago. But again, we are not a people prepared to stand up for anything, so we fall for everything. So I don't blame whether it's Haddad or anybody else. I don't blame them for what because they know that it works. Why should I waste my time to communicate with people when I know that they will count out to whatever I say in the end anyhow? Why would I?
I suppose you're right. I suppose you're right.
I can't be wrong because it's still there.
Oh, God.
Faz, so what do we take from this period, Faz? This last, let's say the last 6 months even. Is there anything that we can learn at all then?
6 months?
Let's say the campaign would have lasted, roughly, let's say 6 months starting with.
All right.
Is there anything that you can learn at all, or you just say that based on the situation at Trinidad and Tobago football is a lost cause kind of thing?
Lasana, the answer is so simple, which is why it's so hard for us. It's about putting a system, a structure in place and respecting that system. But we can't do that. Everybody feel as soon as they're walking, they know better than everybody else. People always say, boy, what Germany, boy, them have system and structure, but we wouldn't follow it. You watch their history, the culture in football and whatever. They have a process that works even with the few lunatics around, but there's a process that works as well, but we wouldn't follow it. You've told South Africa just blaze with tail in the test matches. You watch the structure and the way they grow their talent, and you have to meet certain standards and follow certain processes. They had issues with the administration. The government made them get rid of the administration in South African cricket. They threatened them that you will no longer have a national team. You cannot represent South Africa with the nonsense you're all doing. But of course, FIFA, because that will be considered interference. So FIFA is worse than the mafia. The point is that you see COVID-19 has taught us a lesson. That you could BS your way around everything in Trinidad and Tobago, except when it comes to a matter of life and death. Because COVID don't nobody. So if you say all you come for the vaccine and they from here to Tabaquite and it only have 50 vaccines to give out, only 50 people will get, and about 10,000 people will be left stranded in the rain. And there's nothing you can do to hide that. But you have your lackeys around who will try to give you a different narrative. Unless, Lasana, that we in Trinidad and Tobago recognize that it's a simple thing, but it's almost impossible for us. It's a simple thing. Identify the process, identify the structure, identify the consequences for violating that process, and adhere to it. That's the hard part. Stick to it. Don't just have it like how you go to the JSC hearings, chapter 2, paragraph 4, subsection 2 of this, that, and the other, and they take a year and a half on that thing and do nothing. We need to follow a process that works, stick to that process, and we will actually get somewhere. But you see the way we operate, we have nowhere to go, nowhere.
But Fazeer, just now, Lasana, sticking with football, who is the we who does that?
If football people waiting for some great benefactor to save all you, if football people waiting for the government to intervene to save all you, if football people feel that there are some business people with deep pockets who are going to bail them out, well, keep waiting. Because if football is so important to you or so important to football people, you need to get up and get. Get up and get not in the sense of saying, well, we want this and we need all you to do this. because those, we've seen it for 40, 45 years since I have been around to be aware of football. They're not going to do it. They're not going to put the systems and structures in place that could actually result in them being kicked out because of they're incompetent or corrupt or whatever else it is. Because Barney, if you wait in for somebody else to rescue you, you're going to drown.
No, but the thing about it is, you have, as we just saw, you have a Bajan backing up these people and them. So FIFA is rubber stamping nonsense. So really and truly, as much as let us say, and this might sound far-fetched, but let us say a group of right-minded football people decide that they want to implement the right things in Trinidad and Tobago. The way how the football is run, and you may not know this, but if you get into the football, you realize that there are only few people who are ever going to be elected to power to effect any change. Because, as you pointed out before, of how corrupt the place is. Because a man can easily buy an election in Trinidad and Tobago's football. Or a man can simply have a big stick over here in the sense of FIFA backs me, so you all have to vote for me. Otherwise, you see what happens. And that's what's going on. So I am even more gloom and doom than you. What I am saying is it cannot be fixed. It will not be fixed. That's what I should say.
Hear what I'm saying. Before even thinking about who should lead and whatever it is, right? The other question, based on what Fazeer said, is what is a good process? What does a good process look like? In Trinidad, for instance, are there examples that we can follow right here? Instead of looking at Germany and wherever else. For instance, you hear one thing that usually gets good references would be pan teams, for instance, steel pan, not pan Trinidad by a long stretch.
I'm not going to say what.
Steel pan teams, right? Because the long hours they put in practice and the dedication and so on, night after night for how many months, and they come out and Panama time and everybody's talking real good and coordinated and everything else. I don't know if any of you all know much about pan because I don't myself.
I know enough about pan to know that they're not called teams, right? I just know that. Right?
I didn't want to go there with the St. Mary's compare, but I'm glad you went to that.
I can wait.
But Faz, what processes do we have locally here as a people that we actually do and get right, and maybe we should be trying to kind of copy and in terms of the wider society? Do we have something here that we could do that with?
Two things. Lasana, I think we're trying to reinvent the wheel. Even if there is anything that we can immediately identify, Barney, yourself, I, and so many others who might listen to this podcast at any time will know how to do the right thing in their own household. Anybody who has a properly functioning household, as far as the relationship between husband and wife and children, grandchildren, whatever, there will always be stresses and strains. But a successful family unit is one in which there's respect and there's a process and there's an order and there's a certain there's reconciliation. There's a process for going about things. The point I'm trying to make is again, I'm not saying that this to make it sound like this is an example, but I could only go with what I am involved in.
Because Miss Luan always right here, eh? Miss Luan always right here. She like Hannah there, but go ahead.
we have a little coaching school in Arangwes that has been going on for about 25 years. It's been stopped because of COVID and so on. And it works because we have certain processes and procedures. It was founded by my father with our family business and so on. He has passed away since 2009. I am the supposed representative of the family and so on, but I get outvoted half the time. Whenever we get ideas about how we should do this, should we go with this and thing, and we throw it out to the floor, and the floor say, well, no, what that idea that you come up with can't fly. Okay, it can't fly. There's the end of that. The point is, unless we prepare to understand that it's not about me, it's not about you, it's not about he or she or them, but it is about the process that benefits the young people in the end who are to inherit this apparently godforsaken country called Trinidad and Tobago, then we're not going to solve it. And again, let me give you another example. You talk about what could be done. Barney, when I was asking about what could be done as far as football people. What happened with cricket? Remember what happened with football in the era of Arthur Sweet and the PSL? How he tried to thing and was blackballed and all the players and so on because FIFA was the only game in town. Remember with cricket with Kerry Packer in the late 1970s that were prepared to give up their careers playing for the West Indies because they were being better paid. And you might say, well, who could be the great benefactor to save Trinidad and Tobago football with a breakaway league? Well, Arthur Sweet tried it and look what happened. The point is I'm trying to make with cricket is that cricket changed as a sport because people were prepared to say, I am prepared to give up playing for the West Indies. I am prepared to give up playing Test cricket. I am prepared playing for the West. We are the World Cup champions, but I am prepared to give up that because I believe there's a greater principle that we can't be making peanuts when the administrators getting all the money. Charlie Davis played 15 Test matches for the West Indies, averaging 54, and gave up the game in 1973 because he couldn't feed his family playing Test cricket. So unless people are prepared to sacrifice, and I mean real sacrifice, because I think this word sacrifice is overused. For people who sacrifice anything, it's a choice. It's either you want to play sport or you don't want to play sport. That is your choice. But if you want to make a real sacrifice and maybe give up your career, give up your dreams, or to stand your ground for the good of the game. This whole thing about FIFA and the good of the game, you know that's a charade. But if you're really interested in the good of the game, because of how bad it is in Trinidad and Tobago, it is so bad that something really drastic has to happen for us to ever get back on a level footing, far less talking about going forward, for us to even have a level playing field in football, anything else in Trinidad and Tobago. Great sacrifices have to be made, and I don't know that we're ready for that.
Well, I was now about to add that you drew the examples and some very good examples of the West Indies players who went off to play in Packer series, and with the then TTFF with that Arthur Sweet, the Premier League that he had formed back then in the early 80s. The thing about it is that the player today is a more selfish person and is not willing to make those sacrifices, and using the same sacrifices that you said, not willing to walk that path. I have had conversations, I think Lasana has had conversations with current players about what is going on and about, for example, your match fees getting paid 60 days after when that money is there already, right? And when you talk to some of these senior players, they're thinking about them, and no, they're not thinking about the collective, and they're not thinking about what they're leaving for the other players coming behind. So the generation now, what you would have gotten from the players who made the bold step in the 70s and the 80s, I don't think we're gonna get that from these players now.
Well, even over a decade ago, although those saying selfish might be oversimplifying it, and why I will say that is that some of these guys away, earning a living away, and still coming back here to, ask to train on wet ground with in your sneakers because your boots somewhere, you don't know where your boots is because of and they actually putting up with it, you know? So it can't only be selfish. It's some sort of different mentality, but we know for sure.
Well, Lasana, let me jump in there, Lasana. It is selfish because you know why they're putting up with it? Because they're seeing the chance of playing for Trinidad, going somewhere, getting some greater exposure, getting a bigger contract somewhere else. Their marketability grows. The more you play for your country in a World Cup qualification thing. So you put up with the foolishness because you've seen a bigger picture for yourself.
Even in its 30s and so on, boy?
Hear me, Lasana.
Okay.
People who are on the fringes right now, who have experienced it all, who have taken all the disrespect, who have endured all of this stupidness, but they're still staying quiet because they're just waiting for the opportunity that somebody will throw a little bone at them to get a little assistant coach, a little equipment manager, a little liaison, something or the other, and that's why they're still quiet. You don't understand how sick this place is, you know. That
I started to understand.
because we have a situation on look at the thing now with Angus, Angus as coach, and everybody, yeah, Angus is one away and all that kind of thing. Are we going to hold Angus to a demanding standard, or are we going to give him a blight because he's one away, and if we stay quiet, he's likely to give another one of us a little work or something? If you are going to stay silent in the face of obvious wrongdoing, for the only reason that you don't want to jeopardize whatever you have or are hoping to have, then don't expect anything to happen.
Well, the one beauty in sport is that if you're a player or a coach, you can't hide it because that scoreboard sooner or later going to take it down. You know, which is the thing that officials hide for years, for decades, but player coaches
I will dispute that, Lasana, because just to give you an example, you will say that they can't hide. But you just had the recently removed head of the senior national team say that he went and played 4 games away from home. He didn't lose. How many people stood up and said, but you're talking nonsense? And then how many people actually, because nobody wants to put their head above the parapet because they're afraid they get it shot off.
Yeah, but he didn't last long after that. I don't know if that's the reason why he didn't last, but I mean,
but the point is that he could actually say something like that.
Actually, you know what? The normalization committee said they didn't fire him because of performance. They fired him because of affordability.
Affordability.
So maybe you're right.
I mean, why we don't take down the flag and pull up back the Union Jack? Maybe the thing. No, seriously. You know, maybe I getting older and I getting more cantankerous as I get older and as I get.
Supposed to be the opposite.
Yeah, it's like mellowing. I am mellowing because
Pardon Benjamin Button.
I see in a country that accountability does not matter. Bare simple facts do not matter. Once I could get enough people around me to peddle a bogus narrative, and people go with it.
Yeah, I mean,
What's
the normalization committee to say, Barney, for the normalization committee to say that a man get knocked out of the campaign, World Cup campaign after 4 matches.
Call the rankings of the teams. The group you was in.
Yeah. The highest
201.
132 was saying kids, the highest ranked team of the league. Then is 160, 170, and 201 out of 210. If that is not poor performance, what is? You could never fire somebody for poor performance if that wasn't poor performance, you know? So, yeah, I guess it's true. If that's our standards now.
But you know, they said, who it was Basdio Pan who said performance beats old talk every time. Well, it's old talk that beats everything, every time in Trinidad. Yeah. Because, I mean, I gentlemen, I don't know how much longer we could continue this way and not have everything fall. I write here in St. Lucia, and somebody just the other day said, wait now, it's true it take all your months to get a passport renewed? And what was I say? What could I say? What could I say? Right? Yeah. Just to get a passport renewed? I say, yeah, but you know, if you pay $500, you get an expedited passport in 3 working days. So it's state-sanctioned bribery. What it is that prevents the system from working so that I could normally get it in 3 days, 3 working days. This is Trinidad and Tobago. We have advanced or regressed to the stage where bribery is state-sanctioned.
I like Saudi Arabia and bathrooms there.
Exactly, and we don't make that connection at all. We don't make that connection. It's depressing. I don't know why I came on this podcast. I call it than anything. I don't like to talk about it because it is too real. It is too real to have to deal with this kind of thing.
Right. It unbelievable. It unbelievable where getting paid for getting a coach getting paid is news. that is something I trying to connect, that we actually had to have it is news that coaches got paid.
Yeah,
that's something out to the norm.
Press release saying we paid players, coaches some of the money. They didn't pay them all the money at the Fazeer. They actually put out beating their chest. Today we paid.
You boasted. You boasted. I used to work TSCT. I trying to picture TSCT coming out and say, well, you know what? We pay them employees and them for the first 6 months of the year. I can't understand that.
How many times have you seen people boasting? Ah, boy, we have water in the taps. I've been water rate for about 50 years. Ah, boy, we have water in the taps in the back of so and so and so and so, whatever. Yeah. It's not real. It's the level of dysfunction. And I mean, I don't know. It's beyond exasperating that we haven't. And again, look, we have Angus now as the senior men's head coach. Are we going to go the way of when Russell Latapy was head coach? That because he's one of us, one of the favorite sons, you're going to give him an automatic bly, so that under Latapy you get knocked out by Guyana, or you lose to Grenada, or the media give you a standing ovation when you walk into the press room after you lose a game. I mean, do we forget who we are? That as journalists, part of the job is to be harsh with people, even people who you like. I mean, do we even understand what it means to hold people to account, or do we only hold people we don't like to account, and the people who we like, we give them the bly? I mean, really, where are we going?
Well, as you mentioned that, Fazeer, one thing I've always had a concern with is this issue of sport journalism, because I think so many people in the field don't understand that sport journalism is journalism too, you know. So the when they say things like, boy, you know, you had a support like Atto Bolan recently gave an interview, and he said that he can't see Trinidad getting any medals based on the times we run in and based on the competition. He can't see us getting any medals in the Tokyo Olympics. And people say, oh, you're so negative, and you're always pulling down, and why you can't say things good about whoever and whoever. And I don't understand. Like I say, people don't seem to see sport journalism as, you know, being the same as...
No, they don't, Lasana. They don't.
And journalists too, eh? Journalists too.
They don't understand me. I am in West Indies cricket. Somebody will have a little discussion and think, so what do you think, boy? What do you think of the series that coming up? We go lose. Boy, you don't support the team or what? I said, but you ask me what I think will happen. You didn't ask me what I want to happen. People don't. People do not understand. We are not a mature enough society. This is a society about like and don't like. This is a society about is or isn't. You have not done the work to prepare to take on quality fast bowling that what South Africa have. What do you expect? So me saying we go beat South Africa, we go beat them bad, that makes me a good journalist because I say something that you like. The challenge of being a journalist, of being a coach who stands your ground, is to face the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, left, right, and center. Anyone who is prepared to speak the truth, or at least offer their honest opinion as best as they can, because we all make mistakes. We all fault at some time. But in the main, who are prepared to stand their ground, you have to expect to get blows. But if you want to kowtow, If you want so that this minister will do you some favors, or this big papi in football or cricket will give you a little trip or a little this or a little that or a little work or something, well, go ahead. And this is why we are where we are.
There are certain schools, if you do that, you can be accused of abuse. So I'm glad that you're not coaching. I'm glad that you're not coaching any football. And also, you see a delivery when you're telling the people and then we're going to lose, you could work on that. It might save you. It might save you a little bit. But what you're talking is the truth. We believe that an opinion must be pinned to a like or a dislike of a person. You cannot just give an opinion of something without it being, based on if you like the person or you don't like the person. And that's where we are. Yeah. That's where we are.
I mean, I would just go ahead, Lasana. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, if the same person asks you, I want to run across the highway right now, 6 lanes, car speeding. Wait, think I'll get to the other side. What you tell them? Yeah, I'm back in here. Go ahead.
I mean, it's really a difficult thing because, and I'm trying to understand. Like as I said, I made the whole Russell Latapi reference. Do we in this profession called journalism stand that you are undermining your own profession when you go down this don't like kind of slant, that you're doing something just so that people will like you? If you're doing things just so that people will like you, then why are you surprised that everything is in a mess all around you? If you have violated one of the fundamental tenets of your profession and have no problem at all doing it and will continue to do it, because whenever a government come in power, they bring all their lackeys from the media to come and do their PR for them. So it has been, and in fact, people come into the media looking forward to that springboard into political favoritism, right? If you don't even appreciate the value of your own profession, then where are we going? Because again, not that I'm trumping it as the great savior of the world, but if media houses and media organizations don't recognize that their role, even if you're advocating for something, it has to be for advocating because it is for the benefit of the greater good. It's for the greater good of the people, not the greater good of a few. If you don't even recognize that and see it all as just a means to a selfish end, then why we bothering? Why we even bothering?
Yeah. And that's why I asked you earlier about trying to identify what good's supposed to look like. Because if you don't know, if you don't know what the goal is, then you're in trouble. You'll never ever get there.
Well, the good we could say is the result, because as you just said, the scoreboard don't lie. Mm-hmm. The final score line don't lie. If you see that what is grind me about West Indies cricket? The way people talk is that if Bangladesh, Zimbabwe, they will eventually get up to the top. We might get up to the top as well. If you just be patient, things will happen in cycles and so on. The way they talk is as if West Indies were never the most powerful unit on the face of the earth. West Indies went 15 years unbeaten in Test series. No team has even come close before or after. That will never happen again. Just imagine a team going 15 years without losing a Test series. And even before that, from the Second World War onwards, we were always in and around the top 3 in the world. In the 1960s, we were the most powerful force in the world game. Yet here we are now, 25 years after we lost our unbeaten home record, 26 years. And this cricket we are talking as if, one of these days we might get to the top, as if we were never there. As if we're supposed to ignore the reality that we have abandoned all of the fundamentals and the standards and so on that had us where we were. And so it's real difficult for me to understand. It's real. It's a real struggle.
Do you think enough is done in cricket? Now, I know in football, from where I see, we don't archive our great moments and players anywhere near enough, so that You know, like at a Riemann North Secondary, we bought Jason Scotland in a time to do a coaching course. And none of the players knew who he was. You know? A lot of young players, you mention a name like Cohen Jamat and so on. They have no clue. Who is that? You know? And do we take some responsibility? You know, in sport journalism, sport media, they always taping over former games and so on. You can't get a great game. Like, oh, we tape over that already. You know? So we have youths essentially who don't have the context in terms of understanding when we were great and how we became great. Because that denied to them by the elders and I suppose also by the media houses. So they can't look and see Marvin Andrews and Russell Latapi and David Nackett in the prime.
Because Lasana, and you know, there's a whole different discussion because you could see a feature beautifully prepared on why Altrincham FC have changed their mascot from a foul to a goat or some kind of thing and get all the details on it. But you don't know nothing about Samoa Jablote. You don't know nothing about Challengers FC, the big thing in Samoa in the 1970s when we used to go PSA to watch Challengers or Defense Force or Point Fortin Civic Center and so on. We don't value that. We are colonials, you know. We are colonials. We see everything handed to us as being more important than what we have and what we have generated. And to answer your specific question, cricket has more history and more archiving of that because it's easier to record and you could easily go in the stats and get all the information of everybody who's ever played for Trinidad and Tobago. That's easily accessible. It hasn't been done by us. It's been done because there's an international network that all this information and so on. And there's that real desire for statistics and all that kind of thing. But we have grown up believing that watching some meaningless second division piss poor game in some part of the world is a bigger deal than us promoting Pro League or National League or whatever you call it, promoting our own players, promoting our own communities, so that we could learn to understand ourselves. And I mean, the mere fact that we don't want to remove the statue of Columbus from downtown Port of Spain.
Yeah.
You how backward this place is.
But Fazeer, during the 80s in particular, the 70s too, from what I see, we had sellout games here, even club football and so on. So you know what changed? So clearly,
I think what changed, Lasana?
No TV then. Not enough.
Correct. No, that's correct because because remember the mindset that you have grown up in. Why would you go on a Saturday afternoon? Just sit down in the stands. You can't park your car properly because somebody go break into your car, somebody or whatever. You ain't sure which community you're going in because you're worried if there will be gunplay or whatever. And why would you go do that when you could sit down at home, the fridge right there, the AC on, you have a big screen, and you're watching Atletico play Barcelona or Sevilla play somebody else, and you're getting all angles with 25 cameras and so on. Why would you put up with going just down the road to watch in Barataria ball players ground to watch a game and after your car broken into or your tire slashed or something?
Mosquito biting, yeah, that's some
mosquito biting.
Whoever it is in Barataria, boy, wow.
Yeah, that's been so for years.
And because again, we don't value what is ours. And because we don't value what is ours, we don't put the effort into what is ours to market it and grow it and develop it and put faith in it and learn about our players, learn about not just the Gally Cummings, but the Shea Seymours, about Bobby Sukram, about so many others. We into name dropping that Mohamed Salah and Karim Benzema, you know, we boasted how we know these names. We wear the Real Madrid shirt, we wear the Liverpool shirt and all that kind of thing. Because again, we are colonials. We are colonials. It's as simple as that.
I was gonna ask you, by the way, where you got the devil's advocate style from, but I realize it's a moot point because when you told me your father back in Man United, so you decided back in Liverpool. I say, all right, well, I see where Fazeer gets style from.
No, the thing is that my father couldn't put up with BS. He just didn't have the patience for it. In other words, get to the point. So I mean that for better or for worse, and I know it rubs a lot of people the wrong way. They say I don't have no respect for anybody. I talk to anybody anyhow, and all that kind of thing. But if I ask you how much is 1 + 2, and you tell me that mathematics is a wonderful thing, Pythagoras and so on, and you going all over the place. I said, excuse me, I just ask you, what is 1 + 2? I didn't ask you for Pythagoras or that kind of thing. You consider that disrespectful. But I feel the disrespect is that if I ask you a question and you're not going to answer, and you're going to be dishonest enough not to answer, but pretend you're answering, who is doing the disrespectful thing?
Correct. Correct. Well, that's part of the course in sports now, and that's part of the course with sport administrators. As Lasana said earlier on, players, coaches are judged. Administrators apparently are not judged in Trinidad, because a man could do nonsense and then, well, you know what? As you said to Fazeer, it runs the same parallel as politics, because a man could do nonsense and then have his minions go and try to spin it and tell you that what he's shoveling there is really chocolate and not bullshit, so to speak.
Well, hopefully, I don't always beep out those kind of words.
We have a fellow who is bringing for that.
All right. Okay. Well, the thing is that I'm not even sure that the players and the performers are judged at a level playing field, because I see it in cricket all the time. Fellas walking around with their chest in the air and their head up in the air and all that kind of thing, with numbers and averages that in the day when West Indies cricket, they wouldn't even be allowed to be near the nets, far less be in the team. But they are paraded as superstars with mediocre numbers. So I think the decline has been for so long. I'm not sure we even know as a society. Maybe one or two of us know, and I don't pretend to have the answer. Certainly not me, but I'm not even sure as a collective if we know how to do the right thing about anything. How to do the right thing.
Yeah, which is when we get back to that a few times, the idea of context. We lack context as a society. We don't understand where we should be, so we cannot ever even start going where we're supposed to go, because we don't know where we want to go.
Yeah, we do have a history of strategic planning or anything and sticking to any plans. Yeah. So even if it is we decide, all right, we want to do the right thing, 2 months down the road, somebody come in and say, "Oh, you sure this right, boy?" And the next man with him say, "Nah, me feel this right," and they abandon that. And the next man come in with a great idea. We watch our man decide that football needs a home of football to make our football level raise. I don't know where he went and look. There's a next thing that I think unique to us. We just come up with ideas. We don't look to nobody. We don't look to no world leaders. We don't say, well, they do that. All right, let me try and do this. A man is just come up with an idea, and then it have people who feeding off of that, who going to run around and tell you, yeah, what he doing there correct. It have no way I could go and look and see that and say, well, oh, that's what you doing. It have no way I could look. But everybody telling you, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. I had to go in a little while, because a little bit again, I'm going to make me want to take antidepressants. But before I go, but Barney, you talking about thing with home of football and whatever. I will just take it to the level of a simple line to get a COVID vaccine. You don't trust a process enough to say, I will just make my appointment, come on time for that appointment, and wait my turn in the line, because that is how it's done in an orderly functioning society. I ain't saying white people country, I ain't saying brown people country, I ain't saying black people country. I'm saying if simple common sense will tell you, if you do this often enough in almost everything that you do in public endeavor, this will work smoothly. That the process, you make your appointment, you come in the line at the time, you wait your turn, and you get it sorted out, things will work. But if I know that I know somebody inside of there who will get it sorted for me, I don't have to even turn up, but they will sign the paper for me. What do we really expect? If we are in our DNA unable to respect process, how do we expect it to work in sport or anything else?
But since March 2020, we know that one of the most important things in this era going to be the COVID-19 vaccine. Since March 2020, you mean to say that they ain't work out since March 2020? All those people getting big salaries while people struggling to find $1. How to vaccinate the population? They know what people in Trinidad. They know when people need to get, you know. Because, for instance, I saw a few weeks ago when the vaccine's here, the Ministry of Education put out something saying that, the ministry going to compile a list of teachers. So they now realize teachers had to get vaccinated when the vaccine's in the airport and so on in 2021, and nobody see any issue with that.
But Lasana, before I go and throw myself off this building, we would have seen an organization, Ministry of Health, schedule to tell people to come for vaccines when in truth and in fact, they only had 50 per location. And basically tell you, knowing full well that more people would come than you can cater for. How many years have people turned up at a BWI counter when it was BWI to be told that the flight was overbooked and say, normal thing, that's how it's done. Because again, we have yet to learn the value of structure, process, system that works. Because you know why? Because the flight is overbooked, because I know somebody inside. I could call them to get a seat on for my child, to bump off somebody else, and so on and so forth and so forth. And everybody does it. So the issue is, are we prepared at is this COVID experience and the deaths and the humiliation and whatever else, and the vaccine shortcomings and so on, are we going to ever wake up and say, well, okay, is this the moment where the light bulb will finally come on and we will actually keep it on to help us move forward? I really don't know, because I don't know what else has to happen. What else has to happen?
You will see. We ain't reached there yet, but, you know, we're not to the pandemic yet either, so who knows? Maybe it might still happen, you know? Well, I know you say you have to go fast. You don't get a nice cool glass of juice. Don't do anything rash. Look at the wonderful art in the room or whatever.
Well, I don't know why I agreed to do this, you know.
I don't know either, but I'm glad.
Money has this effect on people.
Anyway, fellas,
What's it's minutes at 2 in the morning here, no?
Well, I mean,
no. It could have been worse. You could have been somebody boring at minutes at 2 in the morning instead of having a laugh. So I smile.
Well, if nothing else, I can make you laugh all the way there in Thailand.
Hold on. Wait till you say I am?
You're not in Thailand?
Hey, I run an experiment. Every Trinidadian has said that I am Thailand.
No, Barney, don't start that. No, Barney, please.
All your movement.
No, Barney. I'm begging you. Don't start that now. Don't start that now. Please. I go and tell you how we celebrate stupidity. No, let me don't go. Please. I have heard about games with Uruguayans and so on. Let me please don't go there now. Oh gosh.
No, but serious. every single person keeps it, every single Trinidadian to the last one. I'm in Thailand. How Thailand going? I say I'm in Taiwan and not in Thailand. It's a big difference. Lasana too, you know. Lasana too. Don't let him pretend he can say it.
Well, it was my mistake. I honestly thought you was in Thailand.
Yeah.
I honestly
No.
It's in Taiwan.
No.
Especially in a country with no name. You know, they are really the Republic of China. They call themselves working at thing. They have issues. You know,
big man. Listen, talk a little softer, please. I in a place where them things mean something. Talk a little softer, please.
It's about 1971, Fazeer. This place believe it's a real country, Chinese Taipei, whatever they call themselves. And China keeps saying, no, you're not. You're still part of the Republic of China. So,
the relationship between the two of them is China is our boyfriend who didn't think we done yet.
Hey, careful what you're saying, brother. Take care that the Chinese ambassador to Port of Spain tell you that you can't come back to Trinidad.
Oh, hey, no, we have somebody who see about these things here. I'll get them to take that out.
You talk about our COVID issues, Fazeer. They're trying. Taiwan trying to get vaccine through the COVAX arrangement, and China say they can't get it because they are part of China, so they have to ask us for the vaccines.
Yeah. And let me add to that. It is against Taiwanese law to use any drugs from China. The politics out here, it's amazing. It's amazing.
So they have the vaccine politics at a different level to Trinidad right now. They know where they get the vaccines from. No. They get 20,000. They get 20 million from Japan. And they have created their own vaccine. Supposed to be launching at the end of this month. They can't get it from COVAX, or they can't get it from WHO because China blocking it.
China has been running interference on it, but what happened is the 20 million that they're getting is actually a shipment from England that Japan passed on.
But yes, Fazeer, again, great to have you on. Maybe we could do this again. We could talk about the left back Fazeer Mohammed in A-level.
I think they still wish that they had really left me back in the class. Anyway, fellas, it was real nice chatting with you all. Only get real depressed, but in any event, it was a nice discussion.
Always nice hearing from you, Fazeer. I'm talking to you, always.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
God damn it! Hey, bad boy, you know it's crazy. Hey,
turn on the radio, tell me why you're here. You hear the use of soca gon' clear this, yeah. Some people want we quit, but we just don't care. Cause I'm a devil of like the other young blood. If it had no melody, you ain't singing. And if it's violence, the youth and them they bringing. Don't try to hold me back because the way the people clinging. The bad boys go keep on singing. Cause it's only war amongst the stars. Now why the thing can't reach far? It's only war amongst the stars. They take it too far. Well, so whether jump or whether wave, people like it and the Congo misbehave. People like it, give the people what they want. People like it and them all